Baseball isn't just numbers, numbers, numbers.
This game is not being played on computers.
You don't do that with a bunch of statistical gimmicks.
You don't put a team together with a computer.
We're talking weighted runs created plus,
expected WOBA,
his sweet spot rate,
defensive runs above average,
average exit velocity,
barrel rate,
xFIP,
BABIP,
SIERA.
We are above replacement radio. And welcome to Above Replacement Radio, where we're talking baseball kind of whenever. I'm your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I'm doing very well today. It is our penultimate show of the first half of the 2025 season, and yet we are still talking about front office and managerial changes around the league. We are talking about all-stars. We are talking about a team up north that has been dominating the American League for the last month plus. A lot that's going on around baseball on and off the field.
A pretty maybe not surprising piece of news, but like kind of out of the blue.
The timing makes it surprising.
Yeah, out of the blue piece of news that was broken today, only a few hours before this recording, was that the Nationals have parted ways with manager Dave Martinez and also very longtime GM Mike Rizzo. And funnily enough, we did have kind of a segment talking about the Nationals and where they were at as an organization last week. So we may have seen the writing on the wall a little bit, but what did you think about how this transpired?
Yeah, well, we'll get into the timing in a little bit because it definitely is a very controversial time to make this call, especially with Rizzo. But I think both of these were necessary moves. Like, this is an organization I think that needs a large overhaul. And I'm not saying that, I think Mike Rizzo will probably find his way back on his feet. I think he'll get another front office job somewhere. And I think he's more than capable of succeeding in another role. But other than that, I mean, this team has been kind of just very irrelevant since they won the World Series in 2019. Other than Strasburg, they haven't signed any big money free agents. They haven't made any large extensions. I know that they tried with Juan Soto, ultimately, to no fault of their own, it didn't work out. But they signed him. They offered him $440 million, and that money has really never been reallocated anywhere else, even for something a lot smaller than that. I mean, the only multi-year free agents they've signed, other than Strasburg, since that World Series win, are Trevor Williams for a couple of 2-year deals, for Will Harris for a 3-year deal, I believe, and then an 8-year extension for K. Barrett Ruiz. Like, this is, people forget this team used to be big money spenders. They used to spend like a big market team because they are a big market team. It's DC. And ever since Ted Lerner's passing, I think there's been definitely a change in spending habits. Who knows if that will change with this? I doubt. The minor league is still really bad. The drafting has been really poor. And it's interesting that this comes a week before they have the number one pick in the draft, in a draft with no clear number one pick. Definitely a very aggressive move to make, no doubt, but I think it's one that needed to happen at some point or another before the end of the year.
Right. Yeah, the team hasn't really showed a whole lot of direction. They have kind of improved each of the last 2 years-ish, like since 2021. They've grown their core, through their trades. The trades that they've had have been, either successful or just not disastrous. Like, CJ Abrams, James Wood, and Mackenzie Gore were all part of that Soto trade, and I think there's a solid argument that the Nationals have won that trade, even with how good Soto is. And then, with the Max Scherzer, Trey Turner trade, I know Josiah Gray, I think, is inactive now, but he had been an all-star for them. So they've kind of grown their core through trades, but in terms of drafting and developing or internationally signing, it hasn't quite been all the way there, unfortunately. And yeah, like these guys have been around for a while. They've been around for the good times, and they've been around for the bad times. And it's also possible that that the Nationals might be entering a new era. They have a new era of players, and maybe ownership figures that they should have a new era of management, both on the field and off the field.
Yeah, it's been a really rough go for this team over the last, half decade or so. Um, I mentioned this last week, but I really didn't particularly care for the comments that Dave Martinez made about it never being coach's fault, that, the players have to have more accountability. Um, I'm not saying that analysis is never correct, but I think when you have the second youngest team in the National League, you kind of have to take some kind of ownership. Like the average age of the people on this team is 26 years old. Like it's people that are going to make mistakes at the major league level. It just simply happens. And I know that for them it might be some worse mistakes regardless, but I don't know. I think there needs to be some sort of accountability for coaching, and that's ultimately what we're seeing here. I also have never cared for the fact that Dave Martinez has told CJ Abrams to not be too pull happy. That's something that he said last year, and immediately CJ Abrams started falling off after he said that last year. He's there are a lot of philosophical things that I just don't agree with. They went viral a couple of years ago for that. I don't care how hard you throw ball four sign at their spring training complex, which is not necessarily incorrect analysis, but it's a very old school method of thinking that negates the idea of process over results. Because fundamentally throwing 100 is a good thing. It doesn't guarantee success, but it's a good starting point, and it gave off a message of neglecting that kind of neglecting talent for success.
Yeah, yeah, like I agree. Like I guess I don't really care how hard you throw ball for, but it's the idea of it. Like you should still be focused on improving your velocity, even if that doesn't necessarily mean putting 100% effort into every single pitch. For example, 3-0 pitch, but it just negates the idea of improving your velocity. And, statistically, hitters do worse and worse as the velocity goes up and up, especially on fastballs. Um, but yeah, like that stuff has kind of rung bells, and the fact that they haven't showed any real success in this time frame when this controversial stuff has been going on has not kind of helped their um, has not really helped their standing or how they're perceived.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's rough. It is funny? They literally have the lowest average velocity of four seam fastballs this year of any team.
Yeah, and they are bottom five in both ERA and FIP.
Yeah, they
Um,
are bottom. They are 22nd in walk rate.
they have
So apparently they don't. I mean, they also don't care how slow you throw ball for either, because that's what they've been doing.
right.
That is a hilarious contradiction.
Yeah, and they have the seventh lowest strikeout rate. So
Yeah, exactly.
that's that's funny. Yeah, fifth lowest strikeout minus walk rate. Um, yeah, velocity usually helps you out. Um, but uh, but yeah, anyway, yeah, the Nationals are moving on here. And yeah, it is very interesting the timing of it because especially from a general management standpoint, uh, the draft is a week from the day of this recording,
Mhm.
and as you mentioned, there's not a clear number one, and that's that's probably not even the biggest challenge. It's the
No, it's
19
every
other
round after
rounds.
that too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the 19 round other rounds that you're dealing with as well, which is probably harder to evaluate when you're maybe new to the position or
Yeah, the first
uh,
pick is probably the least of the concerns of the people that are now going to be doing the Nationals draft because they know that anyone is available.
right, exactly. Like you or I could maybe make a good first overall pick, like based
Yeah,
off of what we know. Whereas
it won't be as informed a decision, but we could very easily land on the same spot as most GMs. Whereas you come to pick number 31 in the second round, and that's where you don't want someone like me or Chris on the front office.
Yeah, right, exactly. Um, yeah, it could be a tough process, um, and the fact that they're probably going to have to go internally might not help because it's probably someone that Rizzo hired or Rizzo brought into the organization that is going to be making that decision. So, like, how different is it going to be? I don't know. It's certainly going to be interesting though.
Real quick, I know we're kind of flip-flopping our topics here, but just some more fastball numbers. This year, the Nationals have the second highest four-seam fastball rate in the majors. They throw four-seamers 41% of the time as a team. Only the Cubs rank higher than that. And the Nationals have the fifth lowest whiff rate on four-seamers.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
at 19%.
yeah, 19%
And
on
again,
core.
average velocity of 93.5 miles per hour, the lowest in the majors.
Indeed, indeed. Um, yeah, so yeah, that's the type of philosophy Mike Rizzo was kind of inadvertently or intentionally promoting. Um,
Yeah. Also,
but
just some more notes. This is from Lance Brozdowski, who is with Marquee out in Chicago, former Driveline guy. The Nationals bats have a bottom three expected WOBA in the minors for three consecutive seasons, including this one, and their pitchers have had a bottom three K rate minus walk rate in the minors for each of the last three seasons. So that's what's coming for this team. They have Travis Sikora looks pretty cool. He's a double A prospect, pitching prospect who's in the futures game, but it's also just a really bleak farm system as well, especially for a team that has had some high draft positions in recent years and, upcoming the number one pick.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I was gonna say. It's not this is not a team that's picking, 28th every year. This is a team that's
No.
been consistently in the top 10 since like 2021. Um, but yeah, so it'll be an interesting change. I don't know how much they can alter, philosophically in the middle of a season. But I think there could be something exciting in store for 2026. Obviously they're kind of canning this year, and I don't think anyone really had crazy expectations for them this year. But I'll be interested to see what the next move is if they go uh, more newer philosophy or maybe stick with the um, kind of same mindset. So we shall see. Anything more on the Nationals news?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want a deeper segment on the Nationals, we had one last week on our show. I don't think we need to regurgitate a bunch of the same talking points because obviously nothing. I don't think our opinion of the current state of the franchise has changed over the last week, other than the fact that it's clear that the team sees it as well. I hope there is. I don't know. I like the fact that it was. I like the fact that both were fired at the same time. I think that it's like true. Like I don't know. There's something about that like feeling of like a true overhaul when you fire the manager and the GM at the same time, because that is like a clear sign of like okay we need like a deep organizational change right now, and that is what they need. Um, I don't know if there was one more at fault than the other. I don't know if they needed to only fire one or whatever. I think this was the objective correct move, just given the state of this franchise. And this might not change anything. Like if it is ownership, I think it's going to become more clear right now. I think there's definitely a very solid chance it is ownership more than anything. But there are, just fundamentally just very deep philosophical changes that are needed top to bottom in this organization. And this is, a clear sign that they recognize that as well.
Right, right. Yeah, like I can't really, I guess, blame Mike Rizzo necessarily for lack of spending. I'm sure
There
ownership.
was a quote, yeah, sorry to cut you off, but there was a quote that the Washington Post reported, where he texted a reporter after the news came out and said, like, something to the effect of, like, I dealt with that organization or with that ownership for 20 years, uh,
Hmm.
could be a sign of something.
Yeah, so yeah, and we know, from our years of experience, rooting for another team, um, that the GM is not always to blame for lack of spending, but there are also other things that you can do as a GM that don't involve getting free agents or acquiring people through trade, that can, really help the organization out. And when you're, not a good farm system and your minor leaguers are bottom three in strikeout minus walk rate or bottom three in expected WOBA with the bats, that's not a good sign, especially considering the amount of high draft picks you had. So that does kind of fall on general management a lot of the time. With someone like Chaim Bloom, who didn't make any, didn't make a lot of big moves relative to other Red Sox GMs when he was with the Red Sox. He at least formed the farm system and which led to the young stars that the Red Sox have currently with Campbell, Meyer, um, Roman Anthony, also Kyle Teal, who was traded for Garrett Crochet. Building that farm system. Mike Rizzo has not taken that opportunity, I guess. Um, but yeah, I guess I'm excited for the Nationals to see what changes might be in store because their window is kind of cracking open with the young players that they do have. They definitely need more depth. Hopefully, they can get some in free agency or trades. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what they do next.
Yeah, this was a report. I just want to get I referenced this earlier. I want to make sure that I get it correct. This is from the Washington Post. A text from Mike Rizzo to a reporter stated, quote, "The sun will come up tomorrow. That's the job. I had a great run, navigated that ownership group for almost 20 years. He started with the organization in 2006, and obviously worked his way up to GM or president of baseball ops for a number of years, won a World Series. He did have a good run. This was ultimately, you win a World Series. I don't care what else happens. Like, that's a good tenure. And that's what Mike Rizzo did. He was there for, some of the best free agents. I mean, like the Max Scherzer contract will always be one of the best ever. I know that is more of an ownership thing, I think, than it is a GM thing, but ultimately he was in the organization throughout the entirety of the Max Scherzer contract, which was one of the best nine-figure deals ever signed. Um, but yeah, I mean, unfortunately, clearly he's sounds like he's throwing ownership to some degree under the bus. We will see how true that ends up being with how they pivot beyond the Rizzo and Martinez era. Um, but yeah, like I said, I think Rizzo will probably find his way into another job. Martinez, I am a little less sure of.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, the Nationals definitely had their time. They had like a good 8-year window from 2012 to 2019. Had some successful drafting with Strasburg and Harper. Um,
Mhm.
and
I mean,
you know,
two obvious number one picks, but
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
Steven
yeah, yeah.
Strasburg was college prospects of all time,
Right. And
and
Harper
Harper
was,
was, on the cover of Sports Illustrated at 16. Like, I don't
yeah,
want to give too much credit for those two, but
yeah.
yeah,
But
hey, but you know what, you did make the pick.
they
Give you
draft,
that.
uh, you know, at some point, I don't know what year, but they drafted, Anthony Rendon, who turned out
Yeah,
to be great for
exactly.
them.
Out of Rice. Yep.
Internationally signed, Juan Soto, um, you know, uh, Ian Desmond, trying
Hmm.
to think who else.
Ryan
Um,
Zimmerman. No.
Ryan Zimmerman traded for Gio Gonzalez,
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
they
Doug
had
Fister.
Doug Fister, of course. Yeah, they had their run. They had their run,
They
but yeah,
did.
it has not you know
Traded for Trey
oh
Turner.
traded for Trey Turner as well.
Yeah, that was a good
Trade
one.
did trade Lucas Giolito.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, for Adam Eaton.
but what can you do? Adam Eaton helped them win a World Series.
Along with Ronaldo Lopez.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, anything more
Ups and
before?
downs. Definitely a lot of ups and downs in the Mike Rizzo era. Ultimately, I think Nationals fans will look back and, I mean, they're probably out of recency bias going to reflect on the current state of the team before the World Series, but he was the GM for the World Series,
Yeah,
and that was
right.
pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Um, but yeah, what do we want to get into next?
There's been some interesting standings things happening. The American League East. I think a lot of the tone has shifted in that division. The Blue Jays now lead it by 3 games. They lead it by 3 over the Yankees, 4 over the Rays, and 6.5 over the Red Sox. Yeah, Toronto they've won 20 or 26 of their last 36, I believe, going back to May 27th, 28th. Best
Um,
record in the American League, tied with the Astros in that span.
Yeah, well, okay, if they were,
Yeah, yeah, I checked it earlier. They're 26 and 10 in the last 36.
yeah, that's pretty unbelievable, that's for
Yeah.
sure. So yeah, let's go back to May 27 and check their what their division odds were, because at the current moment, or maybe even just heading into today, the Blue Jays have a 41 or 42% chance of winning the division.
Wow.
Before this span, they were at 2.8% chance
That's
to win
pretty
the
cool.
division.
87.3% chance of making the playoffs as well.
Yeah, yeah, and it's pretty wild. We like especially now because we were each high on the Blue Jays heading into 2022 and 2023. We thought
Mm-hmm.
they were going to win the division. They obviously came up short in both seasons, reached the wild card, but had a very quick end to each of those seasons in the wild card round. Um, and obviously last year, last place, 74 wins. It looked like kind of that window had shut, but here they are this year, um, after kind of treading water the first couple months, here they are just surging, sweeping the Yankees,
In four.
sweeping the Angels most recently, winning 8 in a row recently, winning 26 out of their last 36. And yeah, they're not only, leading the division, but leading by 3 games. It's pretty unreal.
Pretty remarkable. Yeah, it's they rank since May 28th, they rank second in the league um in weighted 122. I think the storyline has certainly been George Springer, right? At age 35, he is having just a revelation of a season. Now he has an OPS around 900, close to it. Not only that, but I mean, he's all the expected numbers are there too. His expected WOBA is actually higher, like quite significantly higher than his actual WOBA. It's up by 19 points. Like he has a chase rate below 20%. Like he's doing a lot of things just extremely well. Like the Savant page and all, it's everything that he's been doing just extraordinarily well.
Yeah, it's something that no one really had on their radar heading into the year is this surge from George Springer. Really helpful to their lineup, really helpful to just have a veteran presence who's also performing as well as anybody in that lineup. Um, and yeah, the offense has been definitely driving their success. Even, even with them doing what they've done since May 28th, they ranked 21st in ERA in the span, which just goes to show how
Yeah.
good that offense is doing. And it seems like kind of everybody's kind of getting a piece with George Springer sort of leading the charge. I'm pulling the numbers up now. But Ernie Clement has a 149 weighted runs created plus in the span. Alejandro Kirk at 145, Addison Barger at 163, Springer at
Mhm.
181, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at 142. And those are just the qualified guys. I'm sure that the
Yeah,
guys who maybe keep the
I know we've
tune.
talked about the Blue Jays before. Have we gone in larger at all?
I think we did maybe a little bit, but
Okay.
I could be incorrect.
Just real quick, he has made like quite significant changes to his batting stance. His stance angle, first of all, went from 15% open to 52% open. Essentially, the distance between his feet has changed dramatically. It's gone from 25.8 feet last year to 19.9 feet this year. So he's opening up his stance, putting his feet closer together. I know that it's really tough to explain just verbally. I don't have like pictures or anything on me right now, but he's also increased his bat speed quite a bit, and like he's doing all of the awesome things. Like average exit velocity is 93 miles per hour. Average bat speed is well beyond a hard hit ball. He also has the one of the best throwing arms in the league. It's literally 100th percentile. Like this is a very strong player. It's 6 foot 210. Like not exactly the biggest guy in the field, not the smallest either, but definitely not the biggest. But I mean, he's playing like it, like very strong. Physically, offensively with the arm. Like this is a clear future piece for this team.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when you look at a team who's overperforming or underperforming, you kind of have to think about, what is happening that we weren't thinking would happen in terms of like who's performing well individually. I think Barger's one of those guys. Springer is another key one of those guys. Uh, and yeah, it just seems like everyone's kind of showing up. You like Anthony Santander has been a
Yeah, a
disaster signing so
non-factor,
far.
a non-factor on this team, and definitely a non-factor during given that he went on the IL and has played 2 games since May 28th.
Right. And Vladimir Guerrero Jr., he's been a good hitter, don't get me wrong, but he has not
Hmm.
been last year's version or 2021's version of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. either. It's just been everyone else has also kind of stepped up in this at least in this stretch here, which is
Ernie Clement
yes,
has
Ernie
been
Clement.
huge. Alejandro Kirk has brought back the 2022 version of himself,
Yep,
which is really
yep,
sick.
yep, and he's
Yeah,
still only
this team is
26.
there's like at least like 5 guys in this offense that is performing at their like 90th percentile outcome or higher between Barger, Clement, Springer. Like there's a lot of them.
Right.
Davis Schneider is like doing his 2023 thing again to a degree. Bo Bichette's having a bounce back year.
Yep, yep, Bichette. Yeah, Bichette is certainly doing better than he was last year. That was definitely a sure down year for him. He's at a 100 OPS plus to Sunday. But yeah, it's pretty wild. What what do you think the chances are that they end up, on top in the AL East?
Well, I mean, what did we say the Fangraphs odds were?
I think 41% was
41%. So I mean, all right, let's talk deadline then. What is this team? I'm guessing probably like another starting pitcher would be helpful, right?
yeah,
They did just get Scherzer back from the IL, although it is still, no disrespect, but 40 nearing 41-year-old Max Scherzer. Kevin Gausman, Jose Barrios, Chris Bassett, who has struggled as of late, Eric Lauer, Scherzer. Um, no one on the IL that's coming back anytime soon, or at least anyone that would be of great value. I think this team still definitely has needs. One of them being another starting pitcher. Um, who else is on their IL? Dalton Varsho, Santander, Andres Jimenez just went down like the other day. Where are Santander and Varsho at? Are they close? Uh, okay, Santander is definitely not close. He could begin swinging a bat late next week. That's not a guy that's close to coming back. He's also on the 60-day IL, so they're definitely not rushing him. Dalton Varsho is going to begin a rehab assignment within the next few days. Okay, so Varsho is close. So in terms of another outfielder, probably not the biggest of needs. They have Barger playing right at the current moment. They will have Varsho back in center momentarily. They could maybe use another like a left fielder or something, although Davis Schneider has been playing very well as of late. Um, I think starting pitching is definitely the biggest thing. Definitely another reliever too, especially with Yimi Garcia having just gone down.
yeah, yeah,
Um, if they
that would be nice
if
for
the Blue
them.
Jays can get like I don't know, they don't even need anything crazy. Like who can they? Who's like a guy that might be available? Not like a league altering name, but a guy that they could pick up that could be like a an upgrade for them. I'm thinking like an Eric Fetty type.
Yeah.
They can get
Um,
something like that, and then something like another reliever. I'd say their odds of winning the division shoot up to like I don't know, 45%. Like it is still only 3 games. Like
yeah.
they could very easily be down 2 games by our next recording.
Yeah, very easily. Also a side note, and not something um I really use to denote the results of how things are going, but if the standings were Pythagorean, the Yankees would be
Oh yeah. Well,
eight
that's
games
been the
ahead
whole.
of the Blue Jays.
You've
Um,
probably I don't know if you saw, but did you see the whole beef between? Well, I wouldn't even say beef. I don't think that's a correct word, but the thing between Michael Kay and like one of the Blue Jays like post game show analysts.
I did not know.
it was a whole thing where after the game on Thursday, like the so Michael K made a comment on his like show talking about how like the Pythagorean win loss, the Yankees are much better, and it wasn't to say like the Blue Jays shouldn't be winning, but it was just like going forward, like I'm not super worried about this team because of X, Y, and Z, referencing Pythagorean win loss. The Blue Jays then went on to sweep the Yankees. And the I don't remember the guy's name, but one of the post game analysts for the Blue Jays brought up room out on the post game show and said Blue Jays. And Michael K responded, being like, "Yeah, I have no problem talking about them being in first place because that's what they are. I'm a broadcaster. You clearly seem to be like a homer, a guy that's celebrating a team when I'm the unbiased guy here that's gonna whatever." Um, it's not necessarily beef because they seem to have hashed it out, but it was little back and forth there. But yes, the Pythagorean win loss, as you mentioned.
Yes, indeed. That is a thing. I also think back to a point you made when the Garrett Cole um, Tommy John surgery announcement was announced, and how you thought like this might affect the team most in the middle of the season, kind of around summer when arms were getting tired and you know, you know, pitchers were not at peak performance, and unfortunately for the Yankees, I believe Clark Schmidt, it was announced he will be requiring Tommy John surgery, or at least most likely require Tommy John surgery, and he's been
Yeah,
one of their better pitchers. So, um, the Yankees pitching does seem a little bit more depleted, and the Garrett Cole injury that happened at the beginning of the year certainly contributes to that, unfortunately. But yeah, that take that you had back in March seems to be taking place at the current moment.
yeah. You are a little quiet, by the way. I don't know if you're like away from your mic or if you turn something down. Just a little heads up. But yeah, I mean that does appear to be happening right now. Yeah, the Clark Schmidt injury is brutal. He was pitching so well for the last like month or so, and now you're looking at a rotation of Freed, Rodon, who is uh, kind of regressing back to that home run happy, you know, the habit that he gets into sometimes, just naturally as a fly ball pitcher, where a lot of the balls start to leave the yard. Will Warren, who is has been good, definitely has shown a lot of promise, a lot of strikeouts, but ultimately still a rookie. And then Marcus Stroman, and I believe I don't know if he's a starter or not, but Cam Schlittler just got called up. He's going to be making his debut at some points. Is he a starter? So that's probably who's going to be taking their fifth spot right now. I don't like I say, I hate when like any prospect is brought up and is made out to be like a savior. I don't think they should do that to someone like that. But you really need something effective out of every spot in the rotation right now, no doubt, for the Yankees.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, Judge is still doing his thing.
Yeah,
Um,
he hasn't slowed down.
yeah, because I'm like evaluating the offense. Their team OPS plus is 120 right now, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have to imagine much of that is Aaron Judge. And also, shout out to Trent Grisham and Ben
Shout out
Wright.
to my number three second baseman Jazz Chisholm for being an all star.
Hmm.
Good take there. Even though he missed a month,
Yeah, he's out
still
there.
made it.
He's out there. He could go 2020 this year, um,
He
based
should.
on,
He has 15 home runs and 10 stolen bases.
yeah, in just 59 games.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so the this is certainly an interesting development. We could look at it, 2 months from now, being like, oh, remember that time the Blue Jays were like
Yeah.
surging for the division? Or it could be like, oh, that was the start of it all when the Blue Jays.
I'm just glad the AL East is competitive again. For a minute, it did seem like the Yankees were just going to run away with that division. Which, given the expectations that we had for all five of these teams, that was not a fun outcome. I wanted it to be a dogfight, and that's what it's looking like right now. Obviously, that could change at any moment, but I'm glad that we're about to enter the All Star break, and there's four teams that could conceivably win that division.
Yeah, yeah,
It's nothing like
100%.
how the AL Central has gone.
No, it is nothing like the AL Central has gone as yeah, Um, well, I don't have the standings pulled up now, but at least as of
I believe it's
yesterday,
12 and a half games the Tigers are over the Twins
yeah, so
as
it's
of
still 12,
currently.
still
Which
12 and a half
just
games.
to understand, the Blue Jays are 11 and a half ahead of the last place Orioles.
Right. That's
The Blue Jays are closer to last place in their own division than the Tigers are to second place.
right. Pretty
That's pretty
unreal.
sick.
Yes, that's a fun little fact there. Yeah, the we talked about the Tigers a bit last week, but they've just kind of kept doing their thing, and the rest of the division has really just slid. The Royals we kind of expected to fall off a little bit.
We're finally right on the Royals.
Yeah,
Took a year and a half.
yeah. You you probably um uh, you may be a bit more so. I probably expected them to win a little bit, a few more games this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Royals have slid off, and the Twins have not really had the bounce back season that we expected them to have.
Nope.
Unfortunately for them.
I will never stop being wrong on the Twins.
Yeah,
It
I,
appears.
um,
In since the month of June, like the Tigers have been like one of the best teams in the league, and every other AL Central team's been terrible. Like
yes,
the Guardians have lost 10 in a row. They've been shut out 5 times, I believe, in that span. The White Sox are the White Sox. The Royals haven't been good. The Twins haven't been good. Since June 1st, literally the bottom 4 teams in the American League are the White Sox, Twins, Royals, and Guardians. And the Tigers have been 18 and 13 in that span.
that is crazy.
The White Sox at 12 and 19 have the second best record in the American League Central since June 1st.
Right, and like
And that's go
if
that's
the
although that is going into today. The Twins, who are half a game back, did win, and I'm gonna assume the White Sox lost, right?
well they were playing the Rockies. It was the Super Bowl
That is
of
true. Oh no, the Twins did lose today. They lost to the Rays. No, the White Sox did also lose. The Royals won, and the Guardians lost to the Tigers. Yeah,
yeah.
so still, my point remains.
Yeah, and if the Tigers were just going how they were last year, this would be a really interesting race because it would be everyone would
Yeah,
be at or below 500.
we would be looking at a tank division.
Yes, indeed. But no, the Tigers are playing like actual, division competitors this year. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, like Tarek Skubal continues lighting it up. Javier Baez, just a random, resurgence, sort of like George Springer this year. Um, yeah, they just keep doing it. I guess things could change, but it's harder to see them change. It's getting harder and harder to see things start changing.
yeah.
Um,
Uh, the Twins are in second in the AL Central, and as of right now, they are like it feels pretty much a lock. Not that this is a I don't think either of us had anything short of this, but it looks like there will be one AL Central playoff team. Although that team might get the number 1 seed.
yes, yes, which
That's what the Tigers do have the best record in the AL right now, but the Astros are quickly closing in on that.
right, right. So,
They're
but yeah,
playing some good ball.
that would be the first time that would happen since 2017 if I'm not mistaken.
We are in a dangerous spot of like a lot of non-competitive divisions right now. The AL Central is separated by 12 and a half games. The AL West is separated by 7 games. The NL West is separated by 8 games. Like it's not the all we have is the AL East. 2 teams exactly in the NL East, and then like maybe the NL Central, unless the Cubs decide to run away with things, which they very much could.
Right.
They are
But by the
winning
way,
11-0 right now on Sunday Night Baseball.
oh wow.
So,
Um, but yeah, the Tigers, by the way, have a 98.5% chance to win the division
well,
this
yeah,
year,
that
according to
honestly seems low.
FanGraphs. Yeah. 98.5. What? Um, yeah, and a 99.6% chance to make the playoffs. So at least we have,
How about on 11%? The Tigers are the best World Series odds in the American League. Only the Phillies and Dodgers, the Dodgers being at 23%, have a better chance to win the World Series.
wow.
That's
Yeah,
crazy. Dodgers have basically a 1 in 4 chance of winning the World Series.
good for my prediction of the Tigers being in the World Series this year.
That is true. Actually,
That is
yeah, the
true.
the Fangraphs odds literally suggest you're a World Series because you had Tigers and Dodgers, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that is the odds-on favorite on Fangraphs right now.
There we go. And yeah, I mean, who would not want to see, like what would it be? Scooble versus Yamamoto, game one?
Yeah,
That would
that
be
was an
fun.
opening day matchup.
Yeah, yes, that was or it was a Scooble versus Snell,
Scooble
I believe.
Snell, but I'm talking just Tigers and Dodgers.
Yes, true, correct. Yamamoto did start the first game of the year. But but yeah, I I did say I think I said Dodgers over Tigers, and you asked like, oh, would you want to predict games? And I was like, I think four. But I did not think the Tigers would do this well. I thought they'd
No,
win like 89 or 90 games.
no, they're what
They're on pace to win
57
over
and
100, I think.
34, 58 and 34. I don't know if Fangraphs counts today's win.
Yes, it
Did you see,
does.
by the way, did you see how they won today? They were
I know they
down to
won in extras.
their last strike in the ninth inning, and Cade Smith threw a wild pitch to tie the game. Or
Oh yeah, I saw that.
maybe it was ruled a pass ball. I don't. I just saw the pitch very briefly.
It just kind of squirted by the catcher,
Yeah.
and then he came in. Yeah, pretty wild. Um, yeah, and Scooble, 7 innings, 10 strikeouts, no walks, no runs.
Yes.
Unreal. Um, but yeah, so the Tigers kind of have that wrapped up, all wrapped up. Um, anything more you want to get to?
I no, I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I feel like
I think. Oh
All-Star.
yeah, there's been a lot of talk. I think like, do you think we're getting up to a point where the breaks are going to sell at the deadline? Because all that Alex Antopoulos has been saying is like sales not being dealt, like X number of guys are not being dealt. They already have a lot of guys locked up on long term deals, but I don't know. I feel like we're getting to a point like they're 11 games under 500. I don't think you can't not sell.
Um, yeah, I guess, even if they don't have a shot at the playoffs, I'm trying to think of who
Chris
would
Sale
make
should be
sense.
dealt, even if he's hurt. Like I think he's a free agent at the end of this year.
That oh yeah, I he has a team option for next year. I don't know how
Oh,
um
okay, that might get taken then.
yeah, I don't know how expensive
18,
it
18
is,
million.
but
Yeah,
I can't imagine it's that much considering I think this was signed before his Cy Young season.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe they should. Well, I mean, okay, Marcelo Zuna they should sell for sure. Marcelo Iglesias they should also sell. Incoming free agents
Yeah, that would make sense.
that you got to
Yeah,
do.
like obviously Riley, Acuna, Harris, Murphy, Olson, or if I
You
meant
know, you can't sell those guys.
they're all here for a while, I'm pretty sure. Is Murphy or yeah, Murphy's on a long-term deal too.
Murphy
Um
they could trade because they might want to commit to Baldwin.
that is a good point.
That would make
Yeah.
sense if they
I
wanted
was
to do
thinking just
that.
contractually, but yeah, I think that
And
would.
and given that he's on a team friendly deal, they could probably get something for him while maybe offloading some of the contracts simultaneously.
Yeah, exactly. And even if it made sense to trade Ozzy Albies, you can't really get much value from him right now. He
Nope.
has a 607 OPS. Um,
I wonder
so
if they'll take the $7 million team option next year on him.
um, yeah, even then it's like, yeah, absolutely. Um,
Yeah,
but uh,
I
but
can
yeah,
tell you they're
so
not selling is Jurickson Profar because he cannot appear in the playoffs this year.
that's true. That's
So I don't think
true.
any team's gonna want that.
Yep, exactly. Um, so yeah, they're not going to do that. Uh, yeah, I mean, it's strange how this year has transpired, but I feel like, you kind of have to, in terms of this year, you kind of have to drop a mulligan on it. They've also been, on the wrong side of, the Pythagorean gods. They have a 45 and 43 Pythagorean win-loss. They're 11 and 21 in one-run games. Um, so, obviously Like if they were to, it would not make sense to sell off long-term pieces. But yeah,
Yeah.
guys with 1 year of
You
control.
gotta so I think, yeah, Ozuna Iglesias have to go.
Yeah,
Like
it
there's
would.
no reason they should still be on this team.
Yeah, it would make sense. And even if you like there's a situation where they trade those guys and they still make a run because they have a talented enough roster behind those guys to where it is possible. Sorry, what was that?
They're 11 games under 500, Chris. Like
I
it would have to be a run of runs.
I mean there's 12 playoff spots. I think
If they go 11 games above 500 from here on out, they finish 81 and 81.
um I mean I want what is what would the record have to be to get to 85 wins? I want to calculate that. Yeah, I think they would have to go 46 and 28. So
Yeah,
yes,
that is a lot. That is a lot.
that's a tall task, but I don't know. I think they have enough talent to do
They
that.
have the talent. It's just a matter of actually doing it. That is, as
Yeah,
in, like,
exactly.
Schwellenbach is out until September. Like, you know,
Oh, yeah, I did forget about the Schwellenbach injury. That is
yeah.
rough.
Chris Sale is also out right now.
Yeah.
Like, their rotation is Spencer Strider, Grant Holmes, and that's it.
Yeah, that is a factor that
Yeah,
I did not take into account. Um
yeah.
so yeah,
They
hope
need Michael Harris a second to not be terrible. They need Ozzy Albies to start hitting. Marcelo Zuna's been in a slump for like a month now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Been
Acuna might come back down to earth, but he also might
oh,
not.
he probably will. He's been out he has like a
He has a 440 BABIP.
yes, I was about to
Yeah, he's
look up
gonna
his
come back down
BABIP.
to earth. I don't know. That's my gut feeling.
Yeah, and he hits the ball hard like you'd expect a 350 BABIP from, 340 BABIP
Yeah.
from him.
Yeah.
440 is pretty crazy. And he's like outperforming his expected numbers as well. Um,
Strikeout rate is at a since 2020 high this year.
yeah, right. Yeah. Um, it would be surprised if he kept his OPS above 1,000.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, anything more before we get into players to highlight?
Let's talk about it, Chris.
Lovely. Okay, so now we will get into our Sunday, July 6th, 2025 edition of Slightly Alarming Statistics. He's been barreling up the ball way less.
He's not missing bats. He's not getting the ball on the ground, and people are hitting it in the air more.
It's been so bad. He is getting a
Slightly alarming.
Well, Chris, today I am talking about a guy that was towards the top of both of our top 50s. I believe he was outside of your top 10, but he was in mine. Although to be fair, we were probably lower on him than than some other publications, despite how high we had him, and that is Mookie Betts, who has been uh, not himself really this entire year. He is having, I think, pretty comfortably the worst year of his career. Although to be fair, he's still above average. That just says more about how good he's been his entire life at baseball. But since June 10th, he's hitting 186, 237, 314 for a 551 OPS. He has a 48 weighted runs created plus, along with minus zero point 0.1 FWAR. Despite playing a good shortstop, he has actually been a negative, a below replacement player for almost a month now. Among the 184 qualifiers in the span, his weighted runs created plus ranks tied for 10th lowest. So not a very good, not very good with the bat. Throughout the span, Betts has a 14.7% pop-up rate. That's, definitely one of the major reasons why he's been struggling. That is the eighth highest among the 185 hitters with at least 50 batted balls in this span. Mookie has had trouble against some of the pitches in the heart and shadow, parts of the strike zone. Baseball Savant defines that as the heart of the plate, and then also sort of the border of the strike zone. The most hittable pitches you're getting, basically. And on those pitches, he is hitting 200 and slugging 338 with a 244 WOBA in this span. Among the 175 hitters to see at least 200 pitches in the heart and shadow zones, Mookie ranks tied for 15th lowest in batting average, 16th lowest in WOBA, and 13th lowest in run value per 100 with a minus 3.2. On top of all this, his chase rate has gone from 20.6% before the span to 31.9% in this span. So not only is he not hitting the hittable pitches, but he is swinging a lot more at the less hittable pitches. So just a very bad combo there. On top of that, he's obviously popping the ball up a lot. And for that reason, Mookie Betts is getting a slightly alarming from me.
Yes, Mookie Betts.
Slightly alarming.
Yeah, you were actually a little bit lower on him than I was. I had him number
Okay.
8 heading into the year. I believe you had him number 10.
I had him number 10.
Yeah, I think MLB Network had him number 5. So we did a little
I think
bit better.
10th was like the lowest you could have justifiably put him this year.
Right, although Foolish Bailey probably gets the big dub. I think he put him 16.
Good for him.
So good on him. Common foolish W. But my slightly alarming is a subject, and I think we may have alluded to them earlier in the episode, and it's been a little bit of a hubbub, but I'm talking about the Guardians offense.
I was literally gonna say, is it the Guardians offense?
Yes, it is the Guardians offense. These stats do not include today, but they did
Were you sure you were gonna do this when you found out that they were facing Scooball today as well?
No.
That didn't factor in at all?
It was literally because I didn't feel like I could find a good enough player example, so I dove for subjects, and
Sure.
that happened. But it would have been a good idea, that's for sure. But yeah, so these stats don't include today, but today, they only scored 1 run in non extra runner innings, and they scored two runs in total, and struck out 10 times and walked 0 times against Tarek Skubal. So these are probably the numbers I'm about to say are probably actually worse now. But in their previous 20 games heading into Sunday, the Guardians were hitting 191 with a 569 OPS and scoring 2.3 runs per game. They ranked last in average on-base percentage, slugging percentage, and OPS. They also ranked second last in expected batting average and last in expected slugging and expected WOBA. Part of it is just the quality of their fly balls. They have only barreled 17.5% of their fly balls, which is the lowest rate in baseball. They have also only pulled 25.2% of their fly balls, which is the 7th lowest rate in baseball. Along with that, 21.5% of their batted balls heading into Sunday had been hit at 40 degrees or higher, which was the highest rate in baseball. 40 degrees or higher are usually non-competitive batted balls, and that is exemplified by the fact that the Guardians are 0 for 103 on those batted balls. Batted balls at 40 degrees or higher, the Guardians are 0 for 103, and they have the highest rate of those types of batted balls. Also, in terms of timing, they are not doing well either. They have the lowest batting average with runners in scoring position in the span, and the 4th lowest expected batting average with runners in scoring position. And breaking it down individually, Jose Ramirez, as much as I love him, hitting 194 with a 548 OPS in the span. Carlos Santana is hitting 197 with a 577 OPS. Lane Thomas is at 155 with a 596 OPS. Daniel Schneemann, who was making an all-star case earlier in the year, he's hitting 130 with a 407 OPS in the span. And Bo Naylor, kind of the regular catcher, is hitting 100 with a 318 OPS in this span. So the Guardians offense has really been slacking, been part of the reason why they've lost, I believe, 10 in a row. And they are getting A.
Slightly alarming.
Yeah, it's been like stunningly bad numbers from them.
Yeah. And that's a team who definitely improved offensively last year, and had some either resurgences or just general breakouts. And yeah, it seemed to have quelled for this year, especially in this 20 game span and now 21 game span. But yeah, that shall do it for slightly alarming. Now we go from the lows to the highs, where we are talking players and subjects that have been outperforming their expectations with our Sunday, July 6, 2025 edition of How About That.
He's striking out less, walking more, and he's also making better contact.
Turning into a strikeout machine just out of nowhere.
He's been excellent all around this year.
He is getting a...
How about that?
That's right. For my how about that, I am talking about Spencer Steer from the Cincinnati Reds, who has been one of the best hitters in the league going on a few weeks now. Since June 18th, he is slashing 411, 443, 804 for a 1246 OPS, a 235 weighted runs created plus, and a 1.1 F4. Among the 189 qualifiers in this span, he ranks third in the American League in batting average. He ranks tied for ninth in OBP, second in slugging, second in OPS, third in weighted runs created plus, and sixth in F4. Pretty comfortably a top 5 hitter in the sport for about 3 weeks now. Steer's strikeout rate has gone from 26.3% before the span to 16.4% in the span, just about a 10% decrease in K rate, which is always excellent. He's also made some slight tweaks to his stance and his swing that has including a change to his swing path tilt, going from 28 degrees to 30 degrees. That means he's uppercutting a bit more, and over the same time, his fly ball rate has gone from 22.1% before that span to 31.9% in the span. Again, nearly a 10% gain in fly balls. Now, he's been pulling the ball pretty much all year, whether it be in the air or on the ground. Now he's just adding a lot more volume to it. He's actually pulling 53.5% of his fly balls in the span, which is tied for the 8th highest rate among the 157 hitters with at least 10 fly balls since June 18th. So, I always say if you pull the ball enough and you hit it in the air enough, you'll find yourself into a lot of home runs. Spencer Steer benefits from playing in Cincinnati. He does pull the ball a lot, and now he's putting it in the air a lot more, and it's obviously been helping him quite tremendously. His 34% pulled air rate in this span ranks 9th highest among the 214 qualifiers. Throughout the year and throughout the span, 55% of pitches thrown to Spencer Steer have been in the strike zone. Overall, throughout the year, it is the second highest rate, second highest in zone rate among the 176 hitters with at least 1,000 total pitches seen. So he gets some of the most hittable pitches in the league, and he's been certainly taking advantage in this span. He ranks 5th in average and 4th in slugging among the 180 hitters with at least 100 pitches seen in the zone throughout the span. He is hitting 457 on pitches in the zone in the span and slugging 935. He also has a 5.9 run value per 100 against pitches in the zone, which ranks 3rd highest on that same list of 180. So Spencer Steer is, getting some really good pitches to hit. He's hitting them, particularly in the air, a lot more, and for that reason, he is slugging over 800 in the last 3 weeks and is getting a how about that.
Yeah, Spencer Steer.
How about that?
Changing his swing path a little bit and getting rewarded for it. Love those new stats. Now my how about that? Honestly, a lot less I guess analytical changes than usual, but he's just been excellent and I think should be highlighted. Talking about Michael Busch of the Chicago Cubs.
I was gonna put him. I'm glad you did it instead. So we got Steer out of the way as well.
Yeah, Michael Busch in his last 30 games heading into Sunday was hitting 363 with an 1180 OPS. Out of 180 qualifiers in the span, he had the 4th highest average, highest slugging percentage, and the 2nd highest OPS. Out of 179 hitters to see 400 plus pitches in the span, he had the 10th highest expected batting average, 5th highest expected slugging, and 5th highest expected WOBA. Part of this has to do with him making more contact. His strikeout rate had gone from 25% before the span to 19% in the span, and his whiff rate had an even greater discrepancy. His whiff rate had gone from 27% down to 18%. Also hitting the ball harder, his average exit velocity has gone from 90.3 miles per hour to 92.3 miles per hour. Along with that, his line drive rate had gone from 20% to 25%. And part of why his slugging is so high is because of his barrel rate. That barrel rate is 17%, and out of 179 hitters, he ranked 16th in barrel rate. So Michael Busch, if you're unaware, he was traded by the Dodgers. He was part of the Dodgers organization heading into the 2024 season. He was traded and has been a key first baseman for the Cubs. Had a good year last year, but is really breaking out in 2025. So he is getting A.
How about that?
All right, so that does it for players to highlight. Any final words before we hop off this thing?
I don't think I have any final words this week. What about you?
No, trying to think.
Oh yeah, I guess I do have final words. All-star snubs from this year include number one, George Springer. That's ridiculous that Stephen Kwan and Jose and Julio Rodriguez made it over him. Rodriguez especially. Like there's like at least 5, 6 outfielders you could have picked over him. That's kind of unfortunate. Seiya Suzuki, I was kind of sad to see him not make it. Trey Turner not making it was absurd. That was crazy to me. Christopher Sanchez. Um, who else? There's a lot of relievers in the National League that probably could have made it over Jason Adam. Yeah. What about you? What do you think of this year's All-Star rosters?
I haven't I didn't look into it too much.
Juan
I
Soto, if
guess
I didn't mention him.
I guess in terms of the AL outfield, um they really I'm trying to see where yeah,
They
they
dropped the
really just
ball.
went by they may have well just gone by wins above replacement because Quan has 2.3,
Yeah, and
Julio
Springer is
Rodriguez
2.1.
yeah, Julio Rodriguez has 2.3, Springer has 2.1. So obviously their defensive and base running value is way higher, but
Yes.
you don't.
Springer trails only Judge and Raleigh in weighted runs created plus in the American League.
Yeah, and considering how much, defensive evaluation can vary, especially between whether that's, defensive runs saved and outs above average, or just even year to year, a guy can get evaluated much differently year to year, with defense, and the margin for error in evaluating defense is, I think, a bit higher than offense. Um, so considering that, you kind of you usually roll with the offense, so. Interesting decision for sure, but I guess it's a win for wins above replacement. If they
Yeah,
did, if that was the factor that they were going with. Um, but yeah, anything else?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I honestly I haven't been watching that much baseball over the last few weeks, but I'll be heading back to Virginia soon, and I'll probably be just in a den, triple screening and getting back to watching some good old baseball and
Yes.
paying attention to some playoff races that, seem relevant now. We're kind of heading into that time of year where the games are starting to matter more. So, get excited, everybody. Um, but anyway, that shall do it for this installment of Above Replacement Radio. We hope you enjoyed this one. If you were listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and want to watch the conversation as it happens, go to the YouTube channel. It is called Above Replacement Radio. We have a nice guest interviews playlist. We've had Jeff Passan on, Chris Rose, Sarah Langs, Mike Petriello, Foolish Bailey, Matt Brash, Mark Simon 4 times, among many others. So feel free to check that out if you want to go into the archives and some of the stars that we've had grace our podcast. Also follow us on social media. Follow me on Twitter, @Chris_Gianta. Follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram @Daniel_Curran, and follow the show Instagram @Above Replacement Radio for all the show needs. We hope you enjoyed this one, and we hope to see you next time where we will be talking all the happenings in Major League Baseball. Once again, see you then.
This conversation is over.
Is over.